halfway through the commentaries on it, Bhagavan is saying, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma suchaha. Don't you worry about it. I'll save you from all possible sins. And this is in the context of the fact that Arjuna was a bit over anxious about his participation in the battle and the possibility that he may commit certain moral errors. He may have to kill some elders and stuff like that. We have discussed that at great lengths. And then we discussed yesterday about what is the meaning of this sarva dharman. Is it only that you leave all the dharmas, you can do adharmas? No, because the discussion is about dharmas, which means that already the student is far away from the adharmas. And what is parityaga? Will you stop doing those activities? That was also again explained as no, that's not what is intended. You don't have to stop doing what you're doing. Only thing which is advised is that you sort of stop getting emotionally attached to whatever is doing. So you rather develop this core understanding that the ultimate secret of all sadhanas is surrender to the divine, surrender to God. Once we have ensured that, then we can do our karmas, we can do our jnana nishtha. Whether karma nishtha or jnana nishtha, in both, we are protected because Bhagavan himself, whatever nishkama or shakama karma we do, we get the results thereof, the rewards, only with God's grace. And even if jnana nishtha we do, the ultimate self-realization also fructifies with God's grace. And therefore, he says that sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam braja. That is how it was explained. And then we were discussing in brief about the different kinds of modes of bhakti, so far Bhagavan is concerned. And we were discussing yesterday that there are 3 levels at which the bhakta or the student of the Lord of the universe, Arjuna, or anybody, any of us, would like to relate to God. And Bhagavan says, what? Tasyevaham, I am yours. Me unka hu. That is the first level of one's deeper dedication. The second level is Mama eva asau, he is mine. He cannot ditch me. You have firm faith in Lord's grace. And what happens in the final stage? Sa eva aham iti. No, he is not different from me. You have tadatmya. You have complete identification with the divine. And of course, we have the Navada Bhakti. We have already discussed that. So tatra adyam mridu yatha. So in the beginning, you have a very romantic kind of attraction towards the Lord. In the beginning, it's very soft. It's not very strong. Remember, among the Vaishnavas, they have something called Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is very vidhivat. So you say you'll wake up in the morning, you chant certain, do 16 malas of Mahamantra and do Vishnu Sahasranama, give water to the Tulsi plant. These are all Vaidhi Bhakti. But there is a stage, they say, where you are not bound by any rules anymore. You are driven by your crazy love for God. That is Raganuga. So you are doing Anugamana. You are just following what? Your love for God. This Raga is different from the Raga Dvesha, which is at a very material, emotional, the animalistic plane of the humans. We're talking about Raga, aspiration, complete love for God. Then you are just a slave of that love. You are madly in love with God, and that is what he's mentioning. So in the beginning, it's he's saying Satyapi Bheda Pagame Natha Tavaham Mam Mamaki Nasvam. So first in the beginning, what he's trying to say is Satyapi Bheda Apagame. So this the difference, the distinction, the separation between the Bhakta and Bhagavan, even though it is overcome. Natha Tavaham, O Lord, I am yours. Na mama kinahatum, aap to mere nahi ho. That is the emotional banter between Bhagavan, and it's like it happens between children and parents, between husband and wife. He's saying, tum mere nahi ho, main hi tumhare liye bhagta rehta hu, like parents tell their children. And sometimes the spouses accuse each other. Samudra hi tarangah, kvachana samudra na tarangah, samudra hi tarangah. The waves belong to the ocean. They are samudra sambandhita. Samudro hi tarangah. The wave belongs to the ocean. Na samudra tarangah. The ocean doesn't see it belongs to the wave. So at this level, there's a bit of emotional demand by the bhakta on Bhagwan. भगवान आपके लिए मैं रुकता रहता हूँ, आप मेरे बारे में कभी सोचते हैं? And similarly, parents, when children grow up and they go, they start to become a little more emotionally vulnerable. So they call up the child, you have not called me for 10 days. There was a time the child used to seek the love and attention of parents, and parents used to be busy. Now the child has grown up, he's gone to the university, now he's doing a job. The mom calls him up, what are you doing? You don't call me. And says, Mama, bahut kaam karna rehta hai, that kind of thing. The mother accuses the child. This is how it goes on. Ditiyam madhyam yatha. At the next level, what happens? First is I am yours. Second is you are mine. So it's very beautiful, very sweet language. हस्तम उत्क्षिप्य यातोसी, हाथ को छिटक के तुम भाग रहे हो. It's like a lover telling her beloved, हाथ को छिटक के भाग रहे हो. You're just pushing me, shoving me off and running away from me. Balad Krishna kimadbhutam. Look at how surprising kind of a person you are. How shocking are you? You're just shoving me off and running away from me. You're pulling your hand away from me. Okay. Hrudayat jadi niryasi. Okay, try remove me from your heart. Look at the demand, the confidence of the devotion of the devotee. He's saying, oh Lord, you are not having grace for me. I don't bother. Just try do one thing. Forget me for once. It's like there's a very loyal, nice, there is some background noise. Okay. I don't know what is the background noise, but there are some children playing outside. Is it some irritating kind of this? Is probably the fan. Okay, I'll switch off the fan. Give me 1 second. Just 1 second. Voice is not stable. It's wavering. Okay, about that, what we do? Maybe I'll switch off
the speaker. Maybe you can move the phone Swamiji a little.
I'll move the phone. Is it better?
Now it's better. Yes, Swamiji.
Okay, but you may not be able to see me. Anyway, let me live with it. If you're happy, I'm happy. I have no issues. Okay.
We can see you. We can see you.
Now you can hear also?
Yes, better. Yes,
okay. The phone was in that passport mode. Now I made it the landscape. I hope I'm continue to be visible and audible to you. Maybe that microphone was getting kind of obstructed. Okay. Then the lover is telling the beloved, okay, you don't love me. You're pushing me away and running away. Try forgetting me. Hridaya jadi niryasi paurusham ganayami te. The spouse, the wife, the lover, she's telling her husband or whatever, try forgetting me, try removing me from your heart. Then I'll know you are the real man. Okay? So this is how the gopi is telling Lord Krishna. The devotee is telling Bhagavan, oh Lord, you don't care for me, I don't mind, but can you for a second, can you try, is it possible for you at all to forget me completely? If you can remove me from your heart, then I'll recognize. Then I'll recognize that you are the real man. That means you cannot be cruel to me because I know you love me. You are mine. Then the third level, the deepest level of identification with the Lord. Trityam adhimatram yatha. So actually, there is no difference at all. Sakalam idam ahamcha vasudevaha. Whatever is around me and I myself, whatever I see around myself, and whoever I am, idam sarvam vasudeva. This is all Krishna. He's having that complete Advaita experience. Parama Puman Parameshwaraha sa ekaha, and he's only one. There are not 20 Krishnas. There is not too many people. There is no Radha, no Krishna. It's only Eka Eva Vasudeva. Sarvam Vasudeva Miti. He sees Lord Krishna everywhere. It's just one and only reality. Iti matihi achala bhavayati anante. This is, who is saying this is Yama telling his dustas. By mistake, you see any of the human beings whose mind is like this. He sees Lord Krishna all around him and every way. हृदय गते ब्रज तान विहाय दूरात, उसको दूर से छोड़ के तुम चले जाओ. क्यों? You cannot do anything. He's already got moksha. Who comes to Mrityu Loko, who has to come back to Sansara or go to Swarga Loko? We have no business with him because he's completely surrendered to the Lord. So we cannot do anything with him. You know that story that he even said Nalayana towards the end of him. He was a big puppy, where the Vishnu Dutas came and took him to Golokadhama. And the Yamadutas, no, you have no business. He took the name of the Lord. It's so sacred. So Ajambila. So, it's so sacred. So he's saying, Iti Dutam Prati Yama Vachanam Ambarisha Prahlada Gopi Prabhritayah Cha Asyam Bhumikayam Udahartabhyaha. So you can take the names of Ambarisha, Prahlada, all the gopis. They were so dear to the Lord. They absolutely did not see their existence as independent of the Lord. That is the meaning he's saying, Sarvadharman paritejya mamekam sharanam braja. So this advice, why this is the heart of Bhagavad Gita, because this is no more about religion. This is a stage beyond religiosity. It is a stage beyond ritualistic performance of religious rites, because this is a domain of spirituality. This is the domain of, what do you call it? This is a moment of identification, submergence, disillusion of all names and forms in that divine experience beyond all religions. There's no limitation, there's no framework, there's no guidance, because you have already attained that highest level. Asman hi Gita Sastre Nishthatrayam, that these three, Karma Yoga Nishtha, Jnana Nishtha, and now finally Bhakti. Asman hi Gita Sastre Nishthatrayam Sadhya Sadhana Bhavapannam Vivakhitam Uktam Cha Bahudha. This has been mentioned in several ways by Bhagavan. Tatra Karma Nishtha Sarva Karma Sannyasa Paryanta Upasangrita. So you will do the Karma Yoga, you will do Buddhi Yoga till what point? Where you have Antakarna Suddhi, you have Vairagya, you are ready for Sarva Karma Sannyasa. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim bindati manavah. And Bhagavan has said that. And then, that you completely reach then that verse number 46 of the very chapter is mentioned, right? And then he says, Mang tattvato gyatva visate tad anantaram in the verse number 55. That is after Jnana Nishtha. So, and sannyasa purvaka sarvanadi paripaka sahita, then you take sannyasa and do Sravana Manana Nididhyasana of the Upanishads. And finally, what happens? Jnana Nishtha Upasangrita. Then there is a conclusion of it. Tato man tattvata gyatva visate tad anantaram. Mujhe tattva purvak jankar, after he knows me as it is, then he is liberated. That is where it ends. So the Parokya Jnana and all that comes to an end with Apurukya Anubhuti. Bhagavat Bhakti Nishtha tu Ubhaya Sadhana Bhuta Ubhaya Phala Bhuta. So this Bhakti thing Bhagavan mentions in the 18th chapter, and this is what is the view of Madhusudana Saraswati, that this is radically different from what Shankaracharya argued. In the verse number 66, he tried to argue that actually the meaning of this is to take Sarva Karma Sannyasa and do Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, no karma, nothing. Madhusudana Saraswati is saying he has already mentioned about it in chapter 13, earlier in chapter 5, 7, 9, many places he has mentioned what is the Jnana Nishtha. So he's not repeating it here. Sarva Karma Sannyasa has already been advised comprehensively. This is for those who are not doing it. Why should he go back to that interpretation? So Madhusudana Saraswati is saying, definitely, he's saying this is the topmost secret. He cannot go back to what he has already mentioned. So it is about complete devotional surrender to the Lord. So he's saying, Ubhaya sadhana phalabhuta, whether you do nishkama karma or you do jnana nishtha. Without God's grace, nothing happens. So Ubhaya phalabhuta, you get that ultimate devotion as a result of both good action, good karma yoga, as well as jnana yoga. Cha bhavati ityante upasangrita. That is why Bhagavan is saying that's in the end. Sarva dharman paritejya mamekam saranam braja iti atra. That is why Bhagavan is saying that you bring all your stresses and strains associated with your sadhana up till now to an end. Surrender yourself to me. Jump into this ocean of love, this Ganges of love, and clean yourself, wash yourself, whatever remaining strains and stresses, wash them off and be one with me. Bhasya kritastu, Bhagavan Bhashyakari Shankaracharya, Sarva Dharman Parityajya iti Sarva Karma Sannyasa Anuvadena. He has interpreted it as if Sarva Karma Sannyasa is advised here. And that is a big difference between Vasudhana Saraswati, all the Vaishnavas, including Sri Aurobindo. They personally think that Shankaracharya has twisted many things to fit his emphasis on Sarva Karma Sannyasa, whether Bhagavad Gita is actually not a Sarva Karma Sannyasa Paraka Grantha. It is essentially for householders, for everybody, not necessarily for sannyasis, but anybody in samsara can practice it, and everybody is not ready for sannyasa. Ultimately, somebody might do it, that is fine. But this shastra is essentially meant for all brahmacharis and grihasthas and vanaprasthis, and to understand how to lead your life, how to understand the play of these gunas in our life, how to have emotional maturity. That is the key focus of this whole thing. And then surrender to the Lord. Saram Braja iti Bhagavat Abhipraya Varnane Ke Vayam Varaka. He's saying, I'm a small man. I cannot challenge what Bhagavat Bhasyakar has mentioned. He's an avatar of Lord Shiva. I have no courage to challenge what he has said, but this is what I feel. Vacho Yad Gitakhyam Parama Purushasya. Whatever is mentioned by Parama Purusha Lord Krishna. Agamagira Rahasyam, whatever is the the secret of the Upanishads, Tad Vakhyatam Anati Nipunaha. And I am not a great scholarly person. Of course, he has already shown his great scholastic abilities by quoting from Mimamsa and Yoga, and he's a very compact interpreter. He's a wizard with the Shastras, but he's saying, I'm not very well educated. Ati Anati Nipunaha Ko Bitanutam. Bitanutam. What can I explain? I'm a very small, less educated guy. He's just trying to play his game of humility because he has already rejected what Shankaracharya has said. Aham tu etad valyam yad iha. It's out of my childlike innocence, my indulgence that I have written all this. Kritavan asmi, I have written this. Why? Katham api ahetu snehanam tadapi kutakaya mahatam. So he's saying, I have just mentioned it because there's some people who love me and they would like to hear what do I have in my mind. So out of my childish or childlike indulgence, I have written this in order to make them happy or to sort of cater to their curiosity. That's how he brings a very powerful, a very independent and innovative interpretation to the verse number 16, where he privileges or underlines the greatness and the ultimate relevance of Ananya Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti in the Lord of the universe, because that is the ultimate thing. You might be very wise, you may have a lot of grammar, knowledge of grammars and philosophy and everything, but without that connectivity with God, everything is very, very difficult. As Sri Aurobindo kept saying once that everything is possible if God touch is there. If that aspect is absent in life, that connectivity with the divine is absent in life, then everything appears very, very difficult. Now, Samaptaha Sastrarthaha. So far, now Sastrartha Bhagavad Gita comes to an end. So there is some Opacharika Vakyas. In the conclusion, there is some formalities to be maintained in our parampara. So who should be given Gita? And what is the phala if you study Bhagavad Gita? And then some praise about the Shastra. These are the small sentences are mentioned till the verse number, till the end of Bhagavad Gita, another 7-8 verses, which we should finish tomorrow or day after. Sampradaya vidhim adhuna kathayati. So what is the tradition of discussing Bhagavad Gita or teaching Bhagavad Gita is mentioning. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha susrusave vachyam na chamam yo bhushuyati. Idam te na atapaskaya. Somebody who is not interested in tapas. That means who doesn't have any discipline. If you mention Bhagavad Gita, who is a little alasya parayana, somebody who is a little lazy and tamasika, or he's super excited and too restless, and he wants to spend his evenings in the clubs, or his mornings in the gyms, and you want to interfere in his life, say that, why don't you take the name of the Lord? He's going to get angry with you. It's not meant for him. So there should be some tapas, some discipline with him. Na avhaktaya, there should be some devotion. He should have some shraddha. Otherwise, he might just listen to it, may lose interest. Kadachana, don't give it, because they will not be interested. So he's mentioning, even if you want to market Gita, you must understand who is the potential constituency for you. Nurture or susrusave, and those who are not interested to listen. They don't have the desire to hear. They don't have the desire to connect with what is written in the text, to make sense of it. Don't give it to him. Vachyam. Nachamam yo abhyasuyati. And there are the people who think, oh, I'm just one of these guys who has 16,000 girlfriends, the gopis. Very cunning with words and very, very, not cut, is very cunning, very diplomatic, and is very cruel. There are several interpretations of God, isn't it? The Nastikas make fun of the gods and goddesses, the atheists. Yeah, so they would like to laugh at everything. They don't want to get into anything. They don't want to explore. Agnostics are better, but the atheists are strongly against whatever you talk about. They have a fixed understanding of reality and they're happy with it. So don't give it to them. That is what he's saying. And if you elaborate this in the commentary in Gudharthadeepika, what is written there? Idam Gitakhyam Sarva Sastra Sastrartha Rahasyam. So this is the secret of all the Sastras, the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, everything is mentioned here. Te tava sansara bichitai maya uktam. Because I want to liberate you from this hodgepodge of birth and death, this life of agony and excitement. Therefore, I have mentioned it to you because there was a need for me to give it to you, and you are a good candidate for it. No tapaskaya, but don't give it to people who don't have any discipline, no tapas in their life. Or sanyata indriyaya, so whose indriyas are not in control. So he should have some sadhana santushtaya, some indriya nigraha and mana nigraha, sama, dama, these two should be there in some degree. No vachyam kadachana, never ever. Kasya Kasyam api avasthayam iti. Not at any point of time you should give it. Paryayatrayepi sambandhyati. So this you have to link that. Never. Kadachana means nowhere, at no time, at no place. Tapasvini api avhaktaya. It's quite possible that you find a guy who's very disciplined. He's a great tapasvi. And they are yogis, but they are nastikas. There are a lot of people who do their meditation all, but they can torture their body, they can sit in fasting for days, but they don't believe in Lord Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. Isn't it possible? Don't give it to them. Like, for example, you come across a Christian monk, and he may be a great monk, he's completely dedicated to his path, but you go and tell, there is some interesting thing in Bhagavad Gita, would you like to read? He's not going to be super excited with you. Similarly, there are many people who are great professionals, great academics, but you want to discuss Bhagavad Gita with them. They have tapas in them. They have great self-discipline, but they may not be interested in what is written here. So there is no bhakti in them. So this particular engagement is going to be fruitless. Will not yield any results. Tapasvini api avhaktaya guru deve cha bhakti rahitaya. So they don't have any respect for the acharya parampara, and in gods and goddesses or divinity, don't give it to them. No vachyam kadachana. Then, if someone is actually a tapasvi, he's self-disciplined, and he's also a bhakta, but it's quite possible he's full of himself, right? So he thinks he has read everything, and he doesn't want to listen to anyone because he's a bright student. So would you like to discuss Bhagavad Gita with him? No, but he'll not listen to you. नहीं, आप हम रविशंकर के वहाँ पे जाते हैं, हम ओशो सुनते हैं, or he'll say that no, you see, my path is different. I'm into this. He'll not listen to you, but he is very self-disciplined and is a great devoted person, but maybe his path is completely different from yours. So you should not waste your time. Tapasvine bhaktaya api asusrave susrusam paricharyam akurvata. Cha na vachyam kadachana, and they're not interested to listen to you, and they don't have any affection for you, so don't give it to them. Cha sabdo vachyam kadachana iti padadvaya akarshanartha. So the cha you have to attach to all of them. Na cha mam yo abhyasuyati, and then the one who sort of makes fun of me, finds faults with me, and hates me, you don't have to give it to them. Mang Bhagavantam Vasudevam, me, who is Sarvavyapi Vasudevam, Manushya Sama, Ma- Manushyam Asarvajñatvadi Gunakam. He thinks, नहीं, I am a human being. कृष्ण कौन थे? पैदा हुए थे, वो ग्वाला के घर में पैदा हुआ थे. And then you will think, but I'm a higher caste, why should I listen to him? He was born to a milkman. They don't have respect for me, don't give it to them. Gudankam Matva Abhyasuyati, they find faults with me. He's used to play a flute to attract girls, and then, he's a very complicated character. There are quite a few people, especially the Saivites, they make fun of Lord Krishna. And they will quote from Shiva Purana how Lord Shiva had chased Lord Krishna, and then he had to ask for forgiveness because Lord Krishna was already interested in this girl, that girl, and Lord Shiva used to get very angry. He wanted to punish him because one of his devotees' daughters or wives was kind of targeted by Lord Krishna. They'll tell you all kinds of funny stories. Especially if you talk to Ayers of South India, they tell all these funny stories. They're great devotees of Lord Shiva, but they do not have the greatness of the Smarta Parampara. You don't have that problem in the Smartas of Karnataka or Kerala, but in Tamil Nadu, the Ayers, very strongly they have this Saivite thing, and there are other places where the people who are dedicated to Lord Shiva make fun of the Vaishnavas. But in the Smarta Parampara, people worship both Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. It's not a problem. It's one reality with two different names. And then, Tapasvine Bhaktaya Susasrave Sri Krishna Anuraktaya Savasya. So you just give it, but they should have all four qualities. They should have tapas, they should have bhakti, they should have sustrusa, and they should have, Krishna Anuraga, love for God. Then you give it to them. They'll benefit properly out of it. एकैक विशेषणाभावेपि अयोग्यता प्रतिपादनार्थः प्रतिपादनाचत्वारो नकारः. So he's saying that this not na apasaya na avaktaya. So he just wants to rule out them, but you have to take all of them at the same time. Medhavina tapasvini va ityatra vikalpa दर्शनात् सुश्रुता गुरु भक्ति भगवत अनुरक्ति युक्ताय तपस्विने तद yuktaya medhavine vachyam. So medhavi and tapasvi. Somebody is very intelligent and he's a tapasvi. Would you give it to them? No, but he doesn't have other qualities. Don't give it to them. If he's not medhavi, he'll not understand what you're saying. If he's not tapasvi, he cannot sit long to actually enter into the dialogue. So all these qualities should be there together. मेधा तपसो पाक्षिकत्वेपि भगवत अनुरक्ति गुरु भक्ति शुश्रूषाणाम नियम एव इति भाष्यकृतः. Bhagavan Bhashyakara Shankaracharya says that Medhavi and Tapasvi, both are there together. So he's very intelligent, very good at Sanskrit and philosophy, and he's also having great self-discipline. But please look out for the other qualities and indicators as to whether he will make a good student. Because if he doesn't have the resilience, patience, love, many of these guys who are super skilled in language and philosophy have also very strong egos, and I've seen that here. Many bright people come here after taking sannyas, but they don't hang around for long. After 6 months, they get bored and they go somewhere, and then you meet them after 3-4 years, and they haven't completed what they started doing. They're just moving from place to place. It happens frequently with a lot of people. So they come here to study, but they lose interest, they get bored. It's very difficult to have that patience. Evam sampradayasya vidhi muktva tasya kartuhu phalam aha. Now he just mentioned that who are the people that you should discuss Bhagavad Gita with. Now Bhagavan is saying, if you do this kind of discussion, satsanga, you see, that is the best part of Bhagavad Gita. Once you have studied it, it's always advised that you look at it again, but at least become one person with whom you do satsang. It could be your wife, your husband, your brother, your daughter. With just even few slokas, if not all, then actually you understand it better. That is the advice here. So he's glorifying this parampara. And then If you do it, what is the benefit? He's mentioning. Ya idam paramam guhyam मद्भक्ति स्वविधास्यति भक्तिं मयि परां कृत्वा मामवेश्यत्य संशयः ya idam. In some books it's mentioned as iyam, and in the footnote, because Nilakantha, the great commentator from Tamil Nadu, he has sort of mentioned that actually this is iyam, not idam. In some books it's written as idam. Ya iyam paramam guhyam. This Shastra, Paramaguhya, is the ultimate secret, the one who sort of follows it. Okay, so the one who follows it, idam Gita Sastram, Paramam Guhyam Mad Bhaktesu Abhidhasyati, who establishes it amongst my devotees, my students, my whosoever is interested in me. And then what happens? Bhakti Mai Param Kritva. This process of teaching is an expression of his devotion to me. And the best example would be to look at the devotees of the ISKCON movement. They always make it a point. You might get angry with them, but they will smile and come and say, Hare Krishna, would you like to take this book? And I love their dedication. The other day in Bangalore, I met a young lady who was an IT engineer, maybe barely in her 20s, and she got bored. And she was there. I said, what do you do here? He said, I have become a brahmacharini. I said, so what will you do? He said, right now I'm just stabilizing my mind with love for Lord Krishna. Whatever he wants, I'll do. And they are just making sweet things and this and that. But I try to understand as to how that happened with her. And she comes from a very, very orthodox Brahmin family from Andhra. She has grown up worshipping Balaji Bhagwan and this and that. And she was a very qualified, NIT qualified IT engineer, worked in Bangalore and worked for 3-4 years. And the parents were planning to get her married. And she figured out my life is different. So she didn't know how to survive in that technocratic world of competition and this and that. And she said, and she used to visit that temple and she settled, I don't know what she'd be doing, but she decided to stay in the temple and do seva. And I found actually the IT world is so stressful that in ISKCON temple in Bangalore, actually there are many IT guys who go there very early morning to do prayer and meditation. And through devotion, they are trying to sort of beat the devil. So the devil comes to interfere with your life. The best way to beat it is through devotion for the Lord. Okay. So bhakti maya param kritva mam eva eshyati asansayaha. They get me. So beautifully what he's saying is, bhakti is not about only doing my sankirtana. Of course, this Navada Bhakti is there. But this Gita Sastra Satsanga itself pleases the Lord, which is very interesting. Then he will say, even reading and understanding is also equally important, and that also helps. So this is the phala. Let's look at how that's elaborated in the Gudharthadeepika. Yaha sampradayasya pravartakaha imam avayuho sambada rupam. This is the discussion between Bhakta and Bhagavan, Arjuna, and Lord Krishna. Sampradayasya pravartakaha. This Gita sampradaya pravartakaha sambada rupam grantham. What is the pravartana? It's happening through Bhagavad Gita. And what is the Shastra? Shastra is that you cannot jump to sannyasa. Devotion to the Lord is the ultimate thing. You have to understand what are the 3 gunas, and you have to do nishkama karma, bhagavatarpana buddhya, and there are methods to do pranayama and controlling your senses, and how to love others, how to maintain distance, how to be everywhere without getting trapped anyway. This is the Gita Shastra. So, paramam niratisaya purushartha sadhanam, and that will give you the ultimate purushartha, which is moksha. Guhyam rahasyarthatvad, because it gives you all the secrets of all the Upanishads and Vedas and everything. Sarvatra prakasaitum anaham madbhaktesu mam bhagavantam vasudevam prati anurakteshu. And you should not spread it around everywhere, it loses importance, but give it to the ones who have an opening towards me. Prati anurakteshu avidasyati, who gives it to my devotees who have an opening towards me. Avito granthataha arthatasya. So whatever is mentioned, you'll explain what is there and what is the intention, what is the message. Dhasyati sthapayisyati. Now I'm very pleased with bhaktehe punaha grahanat purvakta visheshanatraya rahityasyapi bhagavad bhakti matrena patrata suchita bhavati. Now he's saying in the earlier sloka, He mentioned so many adjectives for who qualifies to listen to Bhagavad Gita, and he's saying only Mad Bhaktesu. He's saying, yeah, but that is presumed. He is giving importance to the bhakti aspect. So he's saying, look after the ones, take care of the ones who have opening to the Lord, who have devotion to the Lord, and then give them the message. Maybe they are slightly weaker on the, that tapas or susrusa. Okay, so maybe, but if the bhakti is very strong, you can give it to them. That's not a problem. That's kind of presumed. Katham avidhasyati, how do they preach? How does that happen? Tatraha bhakti maim param kritva. If you're just doing it academically, no benefit. So if you are discussing Bhagavad Gita, but you are reminding yourself of Lord Krishna's presence even in this discussion, then that is more beneficial. Bhagavataha Paramaguroha, he is the Lord. He has given this slokas to us. We are discussing. The teacher is watching. He is everywhere. Paramaguroha susrusa eva yam maya kriyate. My God, I am only taking care of my Lord who is sitting right here and watching me. I am doing it for him. Like in Kailas Ashram, they do the Bhagavat, the Upanishad Charcha every day. And whether you have 20 students or 2 students, they do it. And once I asked, the students are not today, just 2, you're still doing it? He said, we are not doing it for students. I said, for whom? He said, this Chandreshwar Bhagavan, Lord Shiva, he has made a deal with the Mandaleshwar when he came here that I'll take care of your ashram, but you have to read out Upanishads and do satsang. I need to listen to it every day. That is what the dream he saw, and he established that Shiva temple there. And this Lord Shiva was there in Haridwar. He was brought here and established there. Therefore, they just read it out to them. The Vaishnavas, like for example, a lot of flute players, on the Janmashtami, they sit and play the flute. There wouldn't be any audience. They just play it for Lord Krishna. I've seen in Delhi University, for example, on the day of Saraswati Puja, there's a faculty of music and fine arts. Whether you are Hindu or Muslim or Christian, they establish Ma Saraswati and they do singing of all classical, all the numbers, because they think they need to sort of offer it to Ma Saraswati. So this particular Bhagavad Satsang also is kind of a prayer to the Lord. Kritva Nishchitya. So the one who sort of understands that this is part of my bhakti, if he does it, avidasyati saha mam eva esyati, then he gets me. He gets moksha. Mam bhagavantam vasudevam esyati. Eva esyati eva atirat mokshate. So without much trouble, he'll not have to wait for long. He gets moksha. Evam sansarat atra sansayo na kartavyaha. So he will be liberated from the sansara. This is not to be doubted. Athava mai param bhakti kritva asansayo nisansayaha. And then because he will have deep devotion for me and he is doing this Gita satsang as part of his bhakti to me, san mam eva esyati eva va. Otherwise, as if he gets me, that is the experience he gets. Mam eva esyati na anyam iti. He doesn't get anything. He will definitely get it. Yatha srutam eva cha yojyam. The Bhagavan gives that here and we have to accept it. Now verse number 69. Kingcha, he's further elaborating it. Na cha tasman manusyesu kasin me priyakritamaha bhavita na cha me tasmad anyaha priyataro bhuvi. He's glorifying his devotees, praising his devotees. This is Stutyarthaka. And why? Because he wants to motivate his students, all of us. Na cha tasmat manusyesu, इससे जो मेरा भगवद गीता का अध्ययन पूर्वक सत्संग कराता है, दूसरे को समझाता है, जो मेरा भक्त है. If he picks up the right candidates who have devotion in me and preaches Bhagavad Gita to them, compared to those human beings, kassin me priyakutamaha, there is nobody else who pleases me more. That Bhagavan has mentioned, I have 4 kinds of bhaktas: Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani. So who is this guy who is doing Bhagavad Gita Adhyan and doing Satsanga? He's a Jnani. Therefore, Bhagavan is saying, there's nobody who is dearer to me than my student who has shown interest in what I have to offer, the Jnana, then he's spreading it to others, he wants to help others. Because then I have to individually reach everybody and give a lecture. So he's reducing my load by spreading it around. So he's dearest to me. Bhabita न च मे tasmat anyah priyataro bhuvi. Neither ever there was somebody who is dearer to me, nor shall there ever be a person who is dearer to me. So this guy is dearest because he has understood what it means to love God. It's not about offering fruits and flowers and this and that. Bhagavan is interested. Are we actually understanding him and identifying with him? This Jnana Yoga is sort of glorified. And here Jnana and Bhakti are becoming one. Now let's look at how that's been elaborated. Tasmad Madhavaktesu, among all my devotees, Madhavaktesu, Sastra Sampradaya Kritaha Sakasat Anyo Manishvesu. Because this is Sastra and Sampradaya. The Sastra, Bhagavad Gita, and the Sampradaya, the Vedanta Parampara. Sakasat, and in the interest of this Parampara, Anyo Manishvesu Madhye Kassidapi Me Mama Priyakrittamaha. Then there is no one else which is dearer to me. Atisayena Priyakrit. Madhvisaya Preeti Atisayatvat Nasti, because he is so much in love with me. He wants to do what I have advised. He wants to live a life guided by my advice, and he wants to spread my advice, and therefore he is dearest to me. Vartamana Kale, not now. Kasyanye Priyakat Tamaha, and then he expands it. Napi Pragasit, nor there was anybody who was dearer even in the past. Tadrik Tadrik Kaschit, no one ever was dearest to me. So he's glorifying whosoever comes. It's like, a teacher, his life is miserable. He does a thankful job. There will be hundreds of students entering your classroom every day. Every year you say goodbye and there are new batch of students. But then you are morally sort of impelled to motivate all of them. What do you say? You pick up every batch, you pick up 3-4 students who are interested. Of course, you keep giving lectures, but there'll be just 2, 3, 4 students who will actually sort of stay connected with you. So when I taught in Delhi University for a while, I just taught for 3 years. And then there was one student I remember who was very depressed and this and that. Then, he sort of wanted to study. So I gave him a lot of help. It's interesting that I left the university. He has become a professor where he's very loyal. He'll call a few times in a year. He'll come and see me, and he still remains studious and this and that, because he thought that, because you will find not many, if you are doing anything, you will never find too many. Those of you who are teaching or you have taught, you will know that you always connect with the few students because they are showing interest. And Bhagavan is saying the same thing, that he's dearest to me. And then you say, actually, there's no one in the past. There would be people in the past who are brighter, but then you always glorify the one who is in your front, because your job is to spiritually or academically help him, because you find he or she is a bright student and is interested. He has aspiration. Nacha kalantare bhavita bhavisiti. Neither there shall be anyone, that no one can say, but Bhagavan is saying it. So this is Tuti Paraka. You should not look at it literally. Mamapi tasmad anyaha priyataraha. And then, so far, I am concerned, there is no one who is dearest to me. Priti atisaya vishaya kasid api asid na. There was no one else who was dearest to me so much. Adhuna cha bhuvi loke asmin nasti. Neither now nor in future. Na cha kalantare bhavita iti bhavet ityabritya yogyam. So that is what he's saying, abritya. So, he's just repeating it, saying neither now nor in future. And that is how you have to do the Vakya Yojana. You have to make sense of it. That is how he has glorified the guys who has understood Bhagavad Gita. It's meant for all the students of Bhagavad Gita. And he's motivating you to sort of read it yourself and at least give it to somebody, okay? Or at least discuss that. Somebody should benefit. अध्यापकस्य फलम उक्त्वा, नाउ अध्यापक जो प्रोफेसर है उनके बारे में तो बता दिए, जो आचार्य हैं जो बता रहे हैं. अध्येतु फलमाहो, जो पढ़ेगा उसको भी तो कुछ मिलेगा. नाउ ही इज ग्लोरीफाइंग दिस इन द वर्स नंबर 17. अध्येसते यच इमं धर्म्यं संवादमावयोः ज्ञानयज्ञेन तेनाहम् इष्टः स्यामिति मे मतिः. Adhyesate, the one who studies this, who will study this. Cha yaha imam dharmyam. Dharmyam, dharma and dharmya. Dharmya is dharmat anapetam. Dharma से जो कभी भी अलग नहीं है. So न्याय से जो कभी भी अनपेत नहीं है, never separated, that is न्यायम. There will be 2 years there. Similarly, dharmyam. So dharmat anapetam, never separated from dharma. So this is the ultimate thing. This Bhagavad Gita, Sastra, is dharmyam. This is the ultimate secret, ultimate rahasya of liberation. Sambadam avayoho, between Bhakta and Bhagwan, Krishna and Arjuna. The one who understands this, captured in this Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yagyena Tenaham. And Bhagwan has mentioned, okay, what has he mentioned? In the verse number 33 of the 4th chapter, he has mentioned, Sreyan Dravyamayat Jagyat Jnana Jagya Parantapa. You may mute yourself, Prakash ji. उसको म्यूट कर दीजिए थोड़ा सा. So, श्रेयान द्रव्यमया यज्ञात ज्ञान यज्ञ परंतप. द्रव्य यज्ञ है, हम सच में यज्ञ करते हैं, घी डालते हैं. This that we do because of this Navratri is going on. These are dravyamaya yajnas. Jnana yajna is superior. There is mentioned among this japa yajna is also superior. So jnana yajna is ultimate. Sarva karma khilam partha jnane parisamapriyate. All the karmas, whatever you're doing, yoga, tapasya, niskama karma, everything, ultimately it culminates and ends and concludes with self-knowledge. Knowledge of the self is not different from knowledge of God. And that is where it concludes itself. So jnana yajnena tena aham istaha syam iti me matihi. And then through jnana yajna, I will be the ultimate thing. Then, he's blessing these guys that even if you're studying it, I will definitely bless him and I will be available to him. I'll bless him. He can get me. That's what he's mentioning. Avayoho sambadam imam grantham. And this is the sambada between you, Arjuna, and Krishna. Dharmyam, dharmat anapetam, which is never separated from dharma. Yo adhyesyate, the one who will study, japarupena patishyati, then he reads it. Every day he does chanting, japarupena. Jnana yagyena, jnanatmakena, then he understands it. Yagyena, jnanatmakena, yagyena. This jnana parampara, this yagya, jiska swarup hai jnana. Not naki, ghee and ag and all. That is the swarup of karma kanda. Here, the adhyayana is the swarupa of this jnana yagya. Chaturtha adhyayuktena, that is as mentioned verse number 33. Dravya yagyadi sestena aham sarveshwaraha tena adhyanishtraha. And these people, jo adhyayana karega, nishtaha pujitaha syam iti me matihi. Then wo jnana yagya se meri puja ho jayegi. He doesn't have to offer in rasgullas and khants, rabidi and whatever sweet dishes Lord Krishna loves. You don't have to offer. Ultimately, he's very pleased if he listens to your chanting Bhagavad Gita for 10 minutes in the morning. Few slokas, maybe one chapter. Okay? Adhyatrishtah pujitah syam iti me matihi mama nishchayah. Mama matihi means this is my mata, this is my view, please understand this. Yaddipi aso gitartham anabudhyamana eva japati. Jo jap karta hai, wo samajh ke karta hai, he meditates on it. But what about others who don't understand Sanskrit? Even for them, japati tathapi tat srunvato mama eva aso prakasayati iti buddhir bhavati. Then, if he does japa slowly, the truth gets revealed to him. He understands that his buddhi will mature. Ata japa matradapi, even if he does just japa, he doesn't understand all. Even then, jnana yajna phalam moksham lavate. He also gets that. How? Paramparaya. He will do for a few days only chanting. Slowly he will get interested. He will understand the meanings and he'll listen to an acharya. Then he'll go on, progressing in his spiritual journey. Tattva Suddhi Buddhi Jnana Utpati Dwara. But he clarifies because he's a Vedanti. No, सिर्फ गीता पढ़ने से कुछ नहीं होगा. ज्ञान का भी उत्पत्ति होना चाहिए, अंतःकरण शुद्ध होना चाहिए. Then it gives the results. Like, for example, in chemistry, we have all the materials, right? But the chemical reaction doesn't take place. We have to create the laboratory condition. The laboratory condition is samadhamadi, sadhana chatushtaya, nishkama karma, a bit of ishwararpana buddhi. These are the laboratory conditions. Then the knowledge manifests. Then the consciousness becomes purer. Arthanusandhana parabam patadastu sakhyad eva mukhya. The one who understands the meaning of this Gita Sastra and then meditates, of course, he directly gets it. He doesn't have to do chanting and niskama karma, etc. King Vaktavyam iti phala videhe eva ayam na arthavade, saying, look here, I'm telling this is the phala vidhi, this is the result of what I'm saying. I'm not doing for stuti, I'm not telling you lies just to please you. No, it's not an advertisement. This is my word of promise, of assurance. Sriyan Dravya Maya Jagya Jnana Jagya Parantapa iti Prag Uktam in the verse number 33. So that is how we have sort of completed the 70th verse. And then you will also mention what are the people who listen to it and how do they get benefits. And then Arjuna will say in the verse number 73 that my problems are over. And then Sanjay says a few things. We will most likely bring this to a close tomorrow, or maybe if we don't want to do a summary, maybe the after. But yeah, maybe the after could be fine. So that is asked to me. So that's not a problem. So we will bring it to a close today at this point, and then we'll carry it forward. So maybe today or tomorrow we're going to bring it to a close. So any questions, or I'm anyway bringing the YouTube to a close, and we'll do the Santi Mantras